Here we are celebrating your mother's 90th birthday at the First Baptist Church, a church which is been in your family forever, right?
That's right.
How many years ago?
68.
You were married right here.
Yeah, upstairs.
And this is the First Baptist Church. How did Jim meet you? How did you guys first meet?
I was a lab technician at Copper's Company, and he was the manager of the butadiene units, and he had a pretty good job. So he would come into the lab because our chemist was his friend. He came in to see the chemist, and we had a picnic, summer picnic. And Jim came to the summer picnic as a guest of our chemist. Mm-hmm. So they came together. And he was coming up over the hill, and meanwhile, my friend, she was a lab technician with me, and we were playing softball. We just threw the softball back and forth. And Jim came up over the hill, and I had the softball. I said, "Here, catch." And he said, 20 years later, "I never should have caught that ball." So anyway, and so I knew who he was because he came in to talk to our chemist, but I never talked to him. He just came in briefly and then left. And but I knew that he came in, and I was familiar with him, but he didn't know me. But anyway, he caught the softball, and I went to get the softball from him, and I said, "Hi, my name's Mabelle. What's yours?" And he said, "I'm Jim." He said, "I see you're around in the lab there." I never knew he knew I existed. But anyway, a week later, he came in the lab to see me. And I couldn't stay at the picnic very long because I had to work 3 to 11 that day. But he stayed and came in the lab and asked me for a date a week later. And he often said, "I never should have caught that softball."
So you dated, and where was he living at the time? In Donora?
No, he was living in Beaver, PA,
okay,
in an apartment because he had just gotten out of the Merchant Marine Academy. He was working for Moore McCormick Line.
Okay.
So after his 3-year contract was up, it was up to him to say if he wanted to renew the contract or get out and work in business. Well, meanwhile, he got the job at Copper's Company. And this was in Beaver, but he lived in Donora, and then he was renting a room in this apartment house.
So you started dating at the time. Mm-hmm. So what did your mom and dad think of him?
Well, I liked him real well. And after the second date, and Sally reminded me of this, she knew about it. After the second date, I said to my mother, "Do you like that guy?" And she said, "He's really a nice guy." And I said, "I'm going to marry him." And she said, "Oh." I said, "He doesn't know it yet, but it'll happen." And it did happen.
Yeah. And it happened here at First Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. In 1952. Mm-hmm. What date was that again?
June 21st.
1952. And was there and did you attend? Your mom and dad, or the Freshkorns, did they attend First Baptist Church?
Oh yes, the old my mother's family from way generations had come to this church.
Okay.
And so I was raised in this church.
Did you go to Sunday school here?
Oh yeah, Sunday school and junior high, and was Sunday school teacher from way back. And
as a result, that particular day you got married upstairs. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the minister's name at all? Do you remember much?
Yes, Reverend Younger.
And who was your maid of honor and your party? Do you remember?
Jerry was my maid of honor. Mm-hmm. And then I had one girl I worked with and one girl I went to school with, my best friends.
And Jim, who did he have as his groomsman? Do you remember?
His brother-in-law, Irvin, and his old buddy from Donora. that he was friends with from day one. It was his old buddy from, I forget, the nice family in Donora. Well, Reverend Younger was just a new minister, and he was very young. And he, first of all, he had just gotten married. He was just ordained. After the wedding, that same day, he gave us a wedding certificate. And it was not a marriage certificate. And in Pennsylvania, in 1952, you have to have a marriage certificate with a seal on. Anyway, we found out 10 years later when we were going to go on a trip that we needed passports. And we found out our marriage certificate didn't have a seal on it. So I went to Beaver County Courthouse, and I got a new marriage certificate. And Jim said all this time, gee, I could have gotten away. I didn't have to stay here because we weren't married. But anyway, meanwhile, Reverend Younger was ordained, so he was a legal minister. But we were the second people that he married.
You came down here, where the reception.
A reception, yes.
Do you remember much about that at all, other than?
Yeah, we had sandwiches and cake, and I did a lot of it, and there was a lot of mostly family here. The church was pretty full, and we had sandwiches, and I had a pretty dress, and so Irv Harrison was the best man. That was his brother-in-law, and he had Ruth with him. That was Jim's sister. The family was invited up to the house, and my dad had all this. He had the basement fixed up, and he had a lot of beer, and for the immediate family to come back.
This is on Madison Street.
On Madison Street. So all the family went back, and Jim and I were having pictures taken. And we went out, and there was nobody to take us up to Madison Street. So no one had phones at that time either, and maybe there was a phone in the church, but we weren't access to it. So we walked around the corner and up and down the sidewalk, thinking Irv would come back, because that was his instructions to take us there. Because he was going to take Ruth up to our house, and then come back. So we walked up and down the sidewalk, me in my gown and him in his suit, and nothing. Irv never showed up, we couldn't see anybody. And we were about to walk to Madison Street, but then Jim saw the Pepsi-Cola truck coming. And he hailed the Pepsi-Cola truck and told him, we're in a real fix here because we have to go to Madison Street. We just got married and our ride disappeared. We got in the Pepsi-Cola truck and went up to Madison Street.
Oh my gosh.
But a similar thing happened when we came home from our honeymoon in Bermuda. Irv was supposed to pick us up, the brother-in-law. And we waited at the airport, and we kept saying, well, where's Irv? Where's Irv? And he didn't show up. We called on the phone and nobody answered. So we hitched a ride with another truck driver that took us to Rochester.
That's great. Go ahead. What do you want?
Cut for 1 minute.
Just curious. What did Irv say about that? Was he apologetic? Was he embarrassed?
Yeah, he was embarrassed, and he was a nice guy, and he liked Jim, and he liked me, and he came to me personally and apologized, and he said, I just the kids, he had 3 little kids that were in his way, and he said, one thing happened after another with the kids, and then I just forgot about it.
From your mother's side, the Baptist part?
Yes. Mother's parents were members here,
At one time, Grandma was the oldest living member of the church. Most of these rooms have been my Sunday school class at one time or another.
In 1952, we just heard from Mabelle that she and Jim was married here, and she had kind of forgotten, but you, at a very young age, were part of that.
I was the ring bearer, and I remember very well coming down the aisle carrying the ring. Don't remember a whole lot before and after that, but I remember carrying the ring down the aisle, and this would be the aisle on the side where the main entrance is. But before that, I remember the first time that she brought Jim to Grandma and Granddad's house when I was there. I mean, I suppose she had brought him there before that. But he walked in, and I remember I said, "Stop the music, it's Bert Parks." Because I thought Jim, I mean, instantly, to my mind, he looked a lot like Bert Parks. I knew he wasn't Bert Parks, but he looked enough like him that I thought immediately, and you know, a 3-year-old doesn't really think before he says something. It was just stop the music, Bert Parks. Which aisle you came down?
I came down. We came up the steps and down. Yeah.
Okay, so let's set the scene. You're here.
How's your arm?
It's good now.
So this is Mike Freshkorn now being portrayed by Rick Pierce, Mabel Howard being played by Mabel Howard. So what happened? Explain this. Holding him.
His arm. I was holding his arm, squeezing his arm. And he put his hands over here, and I put him on. We come up the steps and through the door, and I wasn't rubbing, I was just squeezing. A couple of days later, he showed me how bruised his arm was.
All right.
And so then you were coming, this is the aisle, and Jim was already down there.
Yeah, he came out that side to meet me there.
And your mother, so you come down this aisle, and then Rick.
The ring bearer came down
Where's
there.
the ring bearer?
He came
I
down
came
there.
down the other aisle.
But how old were you in
A little over
52?
3.
Whoa, wait a minute. I had to, that's why I was married in June. I had to wait for Mike to be born.
Yeah.
Because she was pregnant.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I wanted Jerry, and Jerry said, well, you know, you don't have to wait for me. And I said, yeah, you're part of my wedding. I'm going to wait till after, so we'll change our date till June.
Gotcha.
So Jerry had enough time to recover, a couple weeks.
Yeah, probably nothing by
Yeah.
today's standards. And this is what the church looked
Yeah.
like. It's the same.
Oh yeah, it's
And
very
it
much
hasn't
the
changed a
same.
bit. Looks the same.